Shalom, everybody. Hi, it's me, Vanessa Malave, and welcome to Moving on Faith Ministries. It is Wisdom Wednesdays, and I'm excited to talk about what we're going to kind of get into today. So let's turn to our Bibles to the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 1. Okay. The book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 1. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Now, this is a very common scripture that a lot of people kind of go into and a lot of people bring up. So I'll read it one more time. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. All right, now I'm excited to talk about this because I've done a little research and I think you guys will be interested in what I have to share with you. So, build, the word build in Hebrew actually is bana, right? So that's bet noon hey for all of you Hebrew scholars out there. And I am not a Hebrew scholar. I study some words here and there, and so I'm just sharing with you what I found. Okay, don't judge me. Now, what I want to get into are the 5 different functions or 5 different avenues of building or the action to build. Okay, so the first one I want to focus on is bana, which is to make. And we can actually reference Genesis chapter 2 and 22 for this. Okay, Genesis 2 and 22. And the rib that the Lord Yah had taken from the man he made into a woman and brought her to the man. So the word there is made, right? To make, made. And the idea is forming, having children, being a producer, endowing, repairing, and being a builder. So the idea here behind the word bana, to build, to make or made, is building a family and bringing forth life. It has something to do with the opening of the womb. Okay, so this is one function or avenue of the idea of building in the Hebraic mindset. Now, the second word we're going to go to, we're going to focus on the word talbun, right? Which is focusing more on the understanding. Okay, the understanding. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 2, verse 2. Okay. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 2. Making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Now, the root word of talbun is bene. Okay, I'm sorry, being. And so the idea behind this is intelligence, the skill of minds and hands, planning and building a house, to mediate, to consider as a teacher. Okay, so in regards, now let's apply this to what it means for a wise woman to focus on building her house. Well, she requires a great deal of understanding. Okay, it's not enough just to bring forth life and be able to build a family or to have your womb open. But no, we need to go a step further and we need to apply understanding now to that role. Let's make this an active word, an active player in this whole scenario. Us as being the wise women and wanting to build our house, and we're going to build it on understanding. Okay, so you're going to this for you as the wise woman, you need to be growing your intellect, your knowledge, and your understanding. You need to be feeding your mind with the word and the truth. But most importantly, you need to study. And when you think you've studied enough, go back and study some more. Okay, and remember, studying is more than simply reading, because plenty of people spend their lives reading the word and they truly lack a deep understanding or knowledge of the word. And this is because they're not scratching under the surface. They're simply surface reading and accumulating content without really understanding context or culture and applying that to what they're reading. So, my wise women, if you want to build your house, make sure you are building it with understanding. Study, 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 study. Okay. Now, and again, this is important because if you're bringing forth children, or even if you're not bringing forth children, but you are raising children, they are now your children, for you to now be a teacher, right? You can't teach unless you know. So it does require you to know a great deal, especially if you're going to fulfill that role. The natural given role of a woman is to be a teacher to her children. And again, this requires a great deal of work and concentration and studying on your behalf in order to now benefit them, to be able to take what you know and now pass it to them and give them knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that will benefit them in their life and in their walk, and their journey with Yah. Okay. So let's go to the third function and aspect or avenue of building, and the part that I want to focus here is structure. Okay. Because when you think of building, you think of a structure. Okay, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 40, verse 5. Okay. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 40, verse 5. And behold, there was a wall all around the outside of the temple area, and the length of the measuring reed in the man's hand was 6 long cubits, each being a cubit and a handbreadth in length. So he measured the thickness of the wall 1 reed, and the height 1 reed. So again, we're focusing on structure. The Hebrew word here is binyan. Okay, and so this is focusing on the building or housing of a family. So that actual structure, the structure that houses the family. The continuing of the house requires a womb and a seed. The womb being the structure that has now the seed has been placed in, and that womb is now the surrounding structure for that seed to develop, to grow, to function, to mature, right? So we as wise women, yes, we are now constructing like you will hear us, you will hear people commonly say, a man can buy a house, but it takes a woman to make a house into a home. Right? And this is because we are keepers of the home. You can give us a house and we will make it a home. That is a part of who we are. That is a part of our nature. And so a part of being a wise woman who builds her house is a woman who is going to cultivate her home. Okay, she's going to make it a safeguard. She's going to equip it and fortify it with everything that is needed in order to make it a strong and sound structure. And in regards to her womb now being a structure and a house for that seed, that inheritance, that continuing of that bloodline, that continuing of that family, again, she needs to fortify her womb, strengthen her body, okay? Keep herself clean. And I'm not saying clean as in bathe, but clean, spiritually clean. She's watching what she's putting into her body, both physically, spiritually, and mentally, okay? She is creating a safe place for that seed to grow in her body. And then outside of her body, she is now taking the house and she's making it a home and fortifying it and creating a safe place for now her family to thrive, to grow, to develop, to cultivate. Okay. And so again, this goes back to a building of a life for your family, making that house into a home, leaving your children a spiritual inheritance, and teaching your children right from wrong. Okay. In a safe and cultivated place and space. Okay, now let's go to the fourth aspect of building and that we want to talk about here, and we're going to focus on discerning. Okay, and I'm actually really interested in talking about this one because I have a few things to say. Now the Hebrew word here is bean. Okay, and we're going to reference this in the book of Genesis chapter 41 verse 33. And I apologize for saying okay like 1,000 times. I'm just realizing that I do that a lot. It's kind of annoying to me. Sorry. Okay, Genesis 41, verse 33. Now therefore let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Okay, so discerning, right? This is going, the word being, it's going back to understand, discernment between two things or two sides, having insight, revealing or making known, understanding interactions of elements. Okay, so as this pertains to the wise woman who now builds her house, she is dividing the truth from lies, good from evil. But I think it's the most important thing to take away from this and to really note is that real discernment goes align with Torah. Okay, a lot of times people will say, well, God gave us the spirit of discernment, and they are not walking in alignment with his word. Thus, their quote unquote idea of discernment is skewed. What they're really saying is, well, I think this, instead of really being led by the Spirit. Because the Spirit will never, ever, ever lead you to go against or contrary to the word or contrary to Torah, despite what we as human beings may desire, may want, may think, and how heavily our opinions may influence our decisions. So real discernment is always going to put you in alignment with Torah, because discernment is led by the Holy Spirit. And if you're not aligning with Torah, and if what you're saying or doing or thinking is not aligning with Torah, I'm sorry, but you do not have the gift of discernment. Okay, and I think that's really important to emphasize, because too many times people use that word discernment all willy-nilly, and it's just they're misusing it. It's inappropriate. It's reckless, and they're really not self-reflecting enough to realize that they don't truly understand what discernment means. Okay, now let's go on to the next segment here. So part 5, the fifth aspect or the fifth function of building. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Paneach. And this is actually a part of the name that was given to King Joseph. Okay, and when he was in the land of Egypt. Let's reference that. Let's go to Genesis 41 and 45. Genesis 41 and 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphenath Paneach, and he gave him in marriage Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. So Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. So this was really interesting, because Paneach is referring to the safeguarding, right? The protector, the joining of the elements. So as the wise woman who is now building your home on understanding, with discernment, in alignment with Torah, building a safe structure, building a sound structure, you are now going even a step further, and I encourage you to protect your home. Protect your home, protect your husband, and protect your children. But most of all, ladies, be sure to protect your spirit. How do you protect your spirit? Well, you cleave to the word. You make sure that you are never answering your own questions with I think, I feel, or I know, but rather the word says this. Because I guarantee you, the woman who leads with the word says this, she will prove that she is the wisest above all women. Because any woman who leads with I think, I feel, in my opinion, in my perspective, or how I see it or how I understand it, unfortunately, we are constantly led astray by our own ideas, opinions, and biases. And to eliminate those mistakes that come from that, I always encourage you to always refer to the word, and most importantly, refer to Torah when trying to answer any question or get any type of discernment or to get any type of counsel or direction. Okay? Now, I do want to take this a step further, because yes, those are the 5 aspects that I wanted to touch on in regards to just simply building and what that could mean for a wise woman. But here's another question for you. What does it mean for a woman to build her house? Build it spiritually. Okay. Here's another question. What should she build her house with? This is a silly scenario, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's vital. You think about the story of the 3 little pigs. You had one little pig who built his house of straw, and it was easily blown down. You had the second little pig who built his house of sticks, and that was easily blown down. But you had the third little pig who built his house of bricks, and that house could not be blown down. And yes, I just talked about the 3 little pigs. I am a mom of 3. I say this story all the time. I know it like the back of my little hand. But I tell you what, there is some real truth there. There's some real truth there, because we as believers should be building and as wise women should be building our houses out of what? The answer is out of stones or bricks, right? But not just any stone, right? Not just any brick, but a very specific kind. What kind of stone, you ask? Well, let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 118, verse 22. And for those of you who are still riding with me, even though we're getting a little long-winded here, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Okay. Chapter 118, verse 22. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Now, this is prophesying of the Messiah, right? Because he was the stone who was rejected, who the builders rejected, and yet he was the chosen one, right? Remember this. No one wanted to believe that Yehoshua HaMashiach was the Messiah. They didn't want to believe that someone who came from Galilee, right, who came from Bethlehem, how could this possibly be the Messiah? How could this possibly be the king? He's sitting with sinners. He's not rich. He doesn't have an army. He's X, Y, and Z. They had every reason why they thought he shouldn't be or couldn't be the Messiah. And they rejected him. They rejected him so much that they crucified him. They put him on the cross and made a mockery of him because they rejected him, because he couldn't possibly be what they thought a true Messiah should be. He didn't fit that mold that they thought he should be, and thus he was rejected. But back to the point here, Christ is the cornerstone, and he is the cornerstone on which we should be building our homes on, okay? And not just our physical homes, but our spiritual homes. Our families should be built on HaMashiach, the Messiah, okay? Now, let's go into this a little bit deeper, okay? So we all know, we've all read who Yehoshua HaMashiach is, who Christ is. We all know, right? But again, let's dig in this a little bit deeper, because I feel like there's so much that really needs to be brought out. Let's go to John chapter 1, verses 1 through 14. And I'm sure most of you have read this before, which I'm happy. That way we all have a good working knowledge of what's being talked about. And I'm going to read it for those of you who have not read it yet before. Book of John, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yah, and the Word was Yah. He was in the beginning with Yah. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from Yah, whose name was John. He came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to bear witness about the light. The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. This goes back to Psalms 118 that we just read. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, who gave the right to become children of Yah, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Yah. And the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. So, again, Hamashiach, Yehoshua, Hamashiach, Christ the Messiah, he was the Word. We just read it. He was and is the Word. So how do you know who Yehoshua is? You must study the Word. You want to get to know him, you study the Word. He is the Word. But he's not the Word that you just find in the New Testament. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, the scriptures say, in the beginning was the Word. So in the beginning, Genesis 1:1, there goes Yehoshua HaMashiach. Front and center, right there. He's there. He's in every page of this Bible. He's everywhere. Okay? He is the Word. Now, let's go to, in the same book, let's go to John 14:6. Another classic that I'm sure a lot of people know and love, but we're going to go into it. Okay? All right. John 14:6. Yehoshua said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So Yehoshua is the way, the truth, the life. Okay, well, let's get deeper into that, because again, we're studying, ladies. We're getting that understanding, that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? So let's go to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. Because Yehoshua said he was the way, and there's always 2 to 3 witnesses on everything. All right. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life. They're the way. What's the way? The commandments. The commandments of who? Of Yah. Commandments of Yah. They're the way of life. Truth. Yehoshua said, I am the truth. I am the truth. Let's confirm that. Let's confirm that. Let's go to Psalms chapter 119, verse 142. Your righteousness is righteous forever, and your laws are true. Your laws are true. So when Yehoshua says, I am the truth, well, what's true? Yah's law. Yah's law is true. His commandments are the way of life. His law is true. He says, and Yehoshua says, I am life. I am the life. Right? Let's confirm this, Yehoshua. 2 to 3 witnesses, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy 32 and verses 46 through 47. He said to them, take to heart all the words by which I am warning you today, that you may command them to your children, that they may be careful to do all the words of this law. For it is no empty word for you, but your very life. And by this word you shall live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess. So he is telling the people, this word, Hamashiach, is your life. These commandments, this law is the word, which is your life. This is Yehoshua HaMashiach. See, when people read the scriptures, what they fail to realize is by not reading the law, statutes, and commandments in Torah being Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's not a separate book, ladies and gentlemen. Torah is the main text. By not studying that, you are completely missing who the Messiah is. You are completely missing all of his work. Not just when he was here in the flesh, but from the very beginning, the breath of life that came out of Yah's mouth. When you don't study Torah, you don't truly know the Messiah. Okay? Now, to sum it up, Christ is Torah. We've proved it. Yehoshua HaMashiach is Torah. He is the law, the statutes, the commandments of Yah. He is. You cannot dispute it. And most importantly, to close, the wise woman will build her house on him, right? She will build her house on the foundation of the word, on the foundation of the laws, the statutes, and the commandments that are the way, the truth, and the life. She will raise up her children in righteousness by mastering Torah, by knowing it so well that not only she can guide them and nurture them and cultivate them in their life in order to be able to raise them up to truly be individuals who have a heart for Yah. She can also, with her knowledge of Torah, she can counsel her husband in righteousness. Not only that, she can help to counsel other women, teach other women how to do good things, how to be good wives and good mothers, and how to entreat the Most High. But without it, how can you do this properly? How can you truly know how to serve Yah if you don't know what he's asking you to do to serve him? How can you know how to serve him if you're refusing to learn how to serve him? It is not fair for you to serve him the way you see fit. You're nothing. He is everything. We must alter ourselves to serve him the way he needs to be served. He doesn't need to meet us where we're at. We need to meet him where he's at. Because we are ever changing and he isn't. It makes sense to meet him. Okay? And I want to give you an example of this. So I don't even know if I put the bookmark here. I don't think I did. Okay, so in the book of Exodus, when Moses was actually given the order from Yah to go into Egypt and to get his people, him and his wife Zipporah were actually, I think it's right here. No, that's not it. Him and his wife Zipporah were actually leaving to return back to Egypt, right? And in the way, I have it here. In the way, they stopped at a lodging. So this, for those of you who want to read with me, we're in Exodus chapter 4, verse, we'll do 21. We'll start at 21. And Yah said to Moses, when you go back to Egypt, see that you do before Pharaoh all the miracles that I have put in your power. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, Israel is my firstborn son. And I say to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. If you refuse to let him go, behold, I will kill your firstborn son. Here we go. At a lodging place on the way, Yah met him and sought to put him to death. So Yah met him. He sent an angel, I'm imagining, a messenger, someone to do his bidding, to kill Moses. Why? Why would he send someone to kill Moses? Verse 25. Then Zipporah, his wife, took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched Moses' feet with it and said, surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him alone. It was then that she said, a bridegroom of blood, because of the circumcision. This is what happened. Once Moses began to embark and enter into a covenant with Yah, he is now held accountable to fulfilling the book of the law, fulfilling what is required of him And also not only to just himself, but with his wife and his children. That is his responsibility. That is the man's responsibility, to be the spiritual leader of his wife and his children, of his family. Now Moses was given this responsibility. He now entered the covenant with Yah. A part of that covenant requires him to circumcise his son and all the males of his home. He knew that because he himself was born a Levite. Okay, so when he was born, upon his birth, I'm sure he was circumcised. So he had this knowledge, and yet he still hadn't circumcised his son. And so because of his disobedience, he was going to be put to death. But because his wife knew Torah, knew the instructions of Yah, she circumcised her son, entering him into the covenant. But by doing so, she saved her husband's life. That is a wise woman. That is what it means when a wise woman has mastered Torah. She saves lives. She saves lives. She saved her husband's life because she knew the instructions of Yah. Imagine if she hadn't. Imagine how differently things would have been. But see, she was a wise woman who knew Torah. There is a value in knowing the instructions that Yah has for you, especially as a woman in Torah. And my advice to all women is, and I tell this to everyone I speak to, before you begin dabbling in the other books and before you begin dabbling in the prophecies and the gospels and the epistles, before you go doing any of that, you need to master Torah. And that requires you to read it several times. Several times. If you have not mastered Torah, you should not be reading anything else in the book, because the foundation of everything you will learn in the entire book is based on Torah. And with a genuine knowledge and understanding of Torah, you will understand the prophecies, you will understand the gospels, you will understand the letters far better than would you have had you not studied Torah. And studying Torah makes you an asset to your children, to your husband, and to your family, and to your home. And this, ladies, is how a wise woman builds her home. And a foolish woman who does not study Torah, a foolish woman who does not know how to serve Yah, who cannot teach her children how to serve Yah, who cannot counsel her husband in righteousness, she will tear her own house down with her own hands. Thank you so much for watching. It's Wisdom Wednesdays, and I hope to see you again soon. Shalom.